So we'll just let you know as well, we'll have some people in the audience that have already spoken throughout the weekend. We've got Phil McKee, Dan McKee, Paul Carson, and Bob Stevenson are also available to answer any questions. First, we have Mike McFarland, the head coach of the Nipissing Lakers. We also have Paul Harrison, of course, a Timmins native, played in the NHL, played goaltender for the Leafs, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh and Buffalo as well. We also have on the panel tonight Drew Bannister, born in Belleville. Drew played his junior hockey for the Sioux Greyhounds, where he won a Memorial Cup in '93, drafted by Tampa Bay in the second round of the '92 NHL draft. He also played for Edmonton, as well as the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim and the New York Rangers. He's now the player head coach of the Braehead Clan of the British Elite Hockey League. And we also have Craig Duncanson up at the table. Craig, born in Sudbury, played his junior hockey for the Wolves before being traded to Cornwall. He was a first-round NHL pick of the LA Kings, taken 9th overall in '85, and he went on to play for Winnipeg, the New York Rangers, as well as stops in the American Hockey League and the International Hockey League. And we also have Dan McCourt, of course, from Falconbridge, 25 years, an official in the NHL, officiated over 1,700 games, and he is also, his claim to fame, of course, Dale McCourt is his brother, and of course his uncle is George Armstrong, former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that is our panel. Now it's up to you guys now to put your hands up. I'll come around with the microphone and we'll get the questions started here tonight. We've got some great people up there, so it's going to be up to you guys to get things going. And we'll have our first question coming right from the top.
I guess this question would be for Scott. I don't want to put you on the spot, but a couple of years ago, freedom of movement came up. Is this, and I see it's coming up again, and I think a lot of the people here come to our NOHA AGMs. We tried 2 years in a row. We tried to open it completely. Our membership said no. We toned it down a bit. Our membership said no. Do you think the Hockey Canada branches will put it in Hockey Canada's constitution to change the residency rules? Or is this going to go back to the branches the same way it did before?
I don't mean to offend anybody in our system, but clearly I hope our board can come to the realization they need to make some change. I heard earlier today that there's over 1,100 Canadians who are playing hockey in the U.S. I think that if we had the ability to research, it would scare us to find out how many Canadians move from within our system to either private schools or external hockey programs that have been termed as outlaw hockey leagues across the country. That continues to happen. That number's not going down, and I think we clearly need to make some change, or one of two things is going to happen. Someone's going to legislate that we need to change, and we're forced to, and hopefully we are quicker to respond than that. Or worst case scenario, rooms like this across the country will talk about house league or recreational hockey and no other level, because competitive hockey will be run by private organizations across the country. And I think that would be drastic for the volunteer effort that's done an amazing job over the years in giving kids an opportunity to play. So I hope our board, I hope the branches, and I hope our organization can recognize it, because clearly we need to change. You know, the world's changed significantly. Again, if I'm a swimmer, if I'm a soccer player, if I play lacrosse, hell, if I play the piano, I can do that wherever I want at certain ages. Why can't you do that in the sport of hockey?
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, we had a hand up right here. You had your hand up.
I'll try not to be long-winded. Question for the coaches, the two coaches up there. We talk about a lot about repetition, and Hockey Canada gives us these guidelines for certain divisions, and in there's a certain amount of lesson plans, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I always try to simplify it. In one season, my hockey Association gives me probably 34 practices. As a proactive guy, I go out and try to get as much as possible. So let's say I get about 50 practices. In those 50 practices, I can do 8 drills per practice. So we're up to 40 drills a year. So I guess my question, without getting long-winded, is what are the most important things to do repetition-wise, knowing that I can only do 40 practices times 8 is more than that. Sorry. I didn't go to the same school as Scott, sorry. 320 drills. So 320 things that I can do a year. I'm sure if I take out the core stuff that Hockey Canada tells me to do, there's probably more skills than that. But the truth of the matter is, whatever I can't teach outside of the hockey game itself, I know there's some teaching on that level as well. But what are the specific things you think that should be repetition in the reality, which is 40 practices?
You know, one of the things that you're talking about here is a certain level, and they're still going to get repetition in doing what the drills that you're using. The key is, and I talked to a general manager a few years ago in the NHL, and he was not very happy with one of his morning skates because he felt that the coach at the time didn't have enough passing in his practices. And he says one of the biggest things that when you talk about players moving on to the next level, when you talk about higher competition, there's a lot more passing. And it's not only making the pass, it's receiving the pass. And it takes 2 to do that. And if you can incorporate more passes in whatever drills you're doing, regardless of not even changing what you're doing right now, if you can just add a couple more passes as you progress in the same drill that you're doing, find a way to create another loop or another give and go, that will create the repetition that you need to improve those skills. So it's really important that you focus on that, because NHL general managers are taking notice that they don't see that skill level that needs to be there. That's one of the biggest things with going back to the NHL this past year, was I found we have unbelievable drills that are high tempo, and the guys are passing almost every 5 feet. There's a lot of passes, and just a warm-up shooting drill. It's not grab a puck, go straight down the ice. It's make a pass to a player, get it back, give it to another guy, go over here, and then go down the ice. Maybe do another give and go to get a shot up. Even though it's a warm-up drill for the goalie, you can still incorporate passing, because you make it more game-like, and the repetitions that build the skill.
Okay, do we have another question from the floor? Oh, come on, there we go. Okay.
Thank you. To anybody with your vast experience at the pro level, you just alluded to the fact that some people out there aren't ready or equipped to handle passes, so on and so forth. So my question is, what's your feeling with respect to the NHL's draft age? Do you believe it should be raised back to the pre-Lidsman days, back to the 20-year-old, giving those who can develop those people the extra years in which to do it back at our levels?
That's a difficult one. I wish it was earlier so I could have made a little bit more money and put it away in the stock market. But as for skill and development, skill of younger players, and to when they're drafted, yes, of course, we do see a lot of players at the age of 19 and 20 that become really good, gifted players that aren't as good as some players at the age of 17. And that goes towards the development, what we saw in some of the PowerPoint presentations before. Players are different. It takes some players longer to develop. Now, where they are drafted and how long, what time they're drafted, I don't think it matters really. I think what matters is if they are not drafted, there's still the capability for them to still make the extra jump to the NHL or to professional level. I think you see with kids coming out of junior hockey, that aren't drafted into the NHL. They still have the route to go to Canadian University. A lot of those kids that go for 4 years at Canadian University now are going across to Europe and playing at a high level over there and realizing their dream of playing professional hockey. And that opportunity is there for them regardless of if they're drafted at the age of 16 and into junior A or at 18 into the NHL. I think that opportunity is still there, and it will be there as long as the choice and the coaching and the mentorship is there to become, you know, a good hockey player and to become and to realize their dreams as playing professional hockey. So no, I don't think that, personally, I don't think it makes a difference in when kids are drafted. You know, NHL teams, Central Scouting, they do their due diligence. There's a lot of good hockey people out there. They know how to, you know, look at players, see the development in them, and a lot of players nowadays are picked earlier not because they're the best players out there, but what their potential could be down the road is. You know, they look at them, what kind of size they are. They look at family. Maybe they have players in their background. You know, a father that played in the NHL, an uncle, things like that come into play when GMs draft players. So, you know, and I just think that if a player is going to become a professional, if there's a chance for him to become a professional, and as long as we give him that chance, if it's, you know, after junior A and college, university, I don't really believe that drafting them at 20, I don't think it makes a difference where they're drafted.
Mike, even if you're drafted at 18, the only place you can play is the NHL. You cannot go to the American Hockey League, the Central Hockey League, East Coast Hockey League. You're either playing in the NHL or you're going back to junior hockey. And so your development is still going to be there in junior hockey. And if you go back to junior hockey, Mike Foligno's, Randy Carlisle's staff is making sure that we've drafted you. Here's what you're doing in the summertime. Here's what you're doing to prepare yourself to play for our team in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, whatever it takes. But we're not hindering, it's having no effect on their development if he's drafted at 18 years old, or he's drafted at 17 years old, or 20 years old. If he's good enough as a Cam Fowler that you guys have to be able to play in the NHL, those players are few and far between that are going to make it. The young kid that plays Carolina is another one. Skinner is another one who was able to make it to the NHL at that age. But for the most part, they're going back to junior, and they're still learning, developing through the team that they're going back to. Plus now they've also got an NHL team that's helping them develop to what they want to see as a player within their organization.
Okay, anybody else on the panel want to address that one? Okay.
I guess in relation to the skill development that we really emphasize, the example you gave, Mike, of the penalty kill situation, and far be it for me to criticize a couple of professional hockey players getting paid millions of dollars, but you do it all the time, okay. But it's kind of an example of what we've done by training coaches so well at developing skills that I think we're forgetting how to teach them how to play the game. And there would have been some time, maybe a few decades ago, where the answer would have been, surprise me. You're in a penalty kill, go out, show some innovation, do something that's unique, try to experiment, let me see what you can do, instead of tell me exactly what you want me to do, so when I go out there I can do exactly what you want me to do. And what I'm seeing a lack of in even the highest level of play, and even at the entry level, is kids are being shown how to play a system, and they're going out there, and we're losing this ability to be creative on the ice, mainly because you have to play a system, because you're not allowed to carry the puck anymore. There's too many people on you. And are we overemphasizing the skills, and we're losing out on how to play the game and develop that creativity on the ice? That's,
you know what, there's some good points you're making. But you have to remember that the players, by the time they get to us, they know these different strategies. They're taught at the minor leagues, they're taught in junior hockey. The key you have to remember is at the NHL level, the reason why they want that exact direction is because you are using a certain system to kill a penalty. That's a specialized field. And what happens is everything happens so fast. You don't have time to ad-lib. You don't have time to freewheel. Everything has to be, you move here, you move over here by 1 foot, you move over here with a stick in the lane. Everything is so detailed, because if you don't and you aren't detailed, they will put it through that lane, that stick that's not there, your foot or skate is not in the way. Those players are skilled enough to make and execute an incredible pinpoint pass, and their shots are like laser beams. These guys are the most talented players in the world. And that's why they need that exact direction. We've tried, you know, at the NHL level, it's a totally different animal that you deal with. You are pretty well coached every square inch of that ice. Because if you're not in those spots when you need to be, you won't either execute on the offense or you'll have something happen against you on the negative side and the defensive side.
I can speak to both questions. One about skill development, and I think it ties very closely to yours. I've had some experience in girls hockey recently, and I think as guys, we've got to take a look back. You can't tell a young girl to go do something unless you tell her why. She's just like her mother. You've got a team of boys. She wants to know why. She needs a reasonable explanation of why I'm doing this drill or why I'm doing that. On a boys team, we've grown up to go through the wall. Well, which part of the wall would you like me to go through, sir? I'll go through the wall. She'll say, well, that seems a little ridiculous. Why would I go through the wall? Part of how we're developing is giving explanation. When Mike develops a guy in penalty killing, he gives them the goal of what I want done and when I want it done and what part of the ice I want cut off. It's up to him to use the skill that he's developed through the number of coaches and volunteers here to achieve that goal. Without the structure that sometimes hinders the younger players, we really can't move forward. There's a fellow at the back of the room, Don McKee, that coached me a long time ago, and they started introducing systems to people. There are many different ways to win a hockey game, but we all have to be playing the same system. There's no bad ones. Just every team has to be. If you've got to be playing the same system as the other guys on your team, and unfortunately, sometimes it does hamper skill. That's how less skilled teams upset teams a lot of the times, and that's just from. It's as creative as being creative going out there. The coach has to be just as creative to come up with something to win that game, and I don't think we're losing a lot of skill out if we're telling them why we're doing it. We're explaining them what our goal is, and they're not just going through they're not just following footsteps on the ice. They're working towards a common goal, which is what we want to instill in them in the first place.
You want to see Keelan Flair go down the ice and skate right through everybody the whole length of the ice and make a candidating drive and score. And that's what's gone out of the game from the 60s and the 70s. And probably the early 80s when the Islanders were winning the cups, and Mike Bossy would stand up at the top of the circle, or he'd come flying down the wing and have the hardest slap shot that we've seen at the time. The teams that were in last place in the NHL had to change the way that they did business because they were always going to be in last place. They got a player, they got to pick first overall, and 2 years later, that player didn't make their team. He was down on the farm team somewhere, and they made a bad pick. And now, how long before they get a chance to get a first pick again? So they had to put a system in place that they could protect against being scored on. Instead of being offensive, they had to be defensive. And then the system started.
Just before we get to our next question, Mike McFarland, maybe let's get a perspective from the university level as far as what's going on here this weekend and how that affects you.
All right, I'm very, very happy to be here as well this weekend and take part in this.
At the university level, my background's a little bit different than the guys all up here. I played and coached 26 years in Europe, and I've seen their practice to game ratio, and I've seen how much emphasis they place on their kids hockey programs. And what I brought back with me to the university, and I believe the guys like it during the first 2 years. Our program's only been in existence for 2 years, but we really do a lot of skill development. Even though the university elite does have a lot of ex-major junior players, it's a great avenue for them to take if they don't make the step to professional hockey. We really work a lot on skill development, and having played 3 or 4 years in major junior, where it is really system orientated, and it has to be at that level. All of a sudden, they come to an environment that's maybe a little bit less structured. They haven't played the role. Well, at Nipissing anyway, they haven't played the role as a first or second line player in major junior. They've been a third or fourth line player, but we need them to be a first or second line player. And at one time, perhaps in the midget age or the bottom ages, they did have that skill, and that's what enabled them to go on to play major junior. They went to major junior, played systems. Now we've asked them to be a more complete player and an all-round player again, and you're seeing some guys that have been maybe a little bit suppressed, all of a sudden having their skills developed at 21 years old and really having fun. And in regards to the question earlier about what you'd practice, what drills and that, I've been to a number of different symposiums, and you listen to even Scotty Bowman, and like Mike said, you listen to them talk about, he said when he was having the success with the Montreal Canadiens way back in the day, for him the big thing was passing. And even in today's game, all the guys are so big and so strong and skate so well. The speed of the game is still delegated by the execution of the passing. If the passing is bad, there's no speed in the game. If the passing is on, the game is really fast. As everybody in this room knows, no one can skate as fast as the puck. So if your execution and passing is good, and this is what we really try to emphasize anyway at Nipissing, is we really work a lot on passing and technical abilities and skills to pick up and receive a pass and give a pass and tight turns, etc. So we've tried something a little bit different, and I think it's been a good mix for the graduating players out of major junior to stay motivated and stay focused and still see maybe there's a potential to be a European player at the end of the university career, or perhaps some type of minor pro job for them. And the exceptional guy still gets to the NHL.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. We have another question.
You're in trouble now. No, to Mike and to Drew, you're both either have been in Europe or you're in Europe at the present time. Can you give us some insight that you've seen over the years, what's taking place over there, what's taking place in Canada, and where you see, are we headed in the right direction on this side of the pond?
Just briefly, most of my time in Europe was in Switzerland. I was 26 years there, and what the pros and cons that I've seen, their development has been incredible. Their junior programs have improved immensely over the time I've been there. But in saying that, it is a bit of an elitist sport, especially in Switzerland. It's very expensive to play. A city such as Lausanne with 200,000 people will maybe only have one and maybe two Pee Wee age teams. There's not 6 teams, there's not 8 teams. Either you're good enough or you're not good enough, and you move on to some small town and have your mother or father drive you the extra half an hour to play. In saying that, taking a step further, what I've seen, and I think what was very good is most clubs over there now hire a professional junior coach who oversees and coordinates the whole junior program and runs it. And I think they have their structure built right into their program from the top down. And it's an interesting concept, and it's been successful at that level.
Yeah, I think especially the country that I was most impressed with where I played was Finland, and how they developed their young players and the systems and skills that they developed. Obviously see a lot of great goaltenders coming out of Finland nowadays, and that all goes with how they develop their goalies. Again, and in Germany, with the same thing with their junior programs, a lot of the top elite, the teams, they have a junior program under them, and the players within the city or within their county, as they would say, are brought up through those programs, and then they're given the chance to be able to play professional hockey within that system. I think it's very similar. I think what we're doing in Canada today, and the programs that Hockey Canada has put out for our coaches to develop our players, and especially comparable to Finland and what they do on a level with their kids and their skill development, is very similar to what we are doing here. And you know, I was a big believer quite a few years back when I was in Finland. And seeing the players that were coming out of there at that time and the skill level and how they were competing with Canada. At Finland, there was 5 million people in there. Hockey's the biggest sport in Finland. Their professional league is probably maybe the second best league in the world, I would think. You know, people talk about how good Russia is, but you know, the Finnish Hockey League is quite a fantastic league and a great league to watch, and it's because of the players and the development that they have there. And a lot of the Finnish players that you never get to see over here, they stay there. They don't come over to play in North America just because how good the hockey that they get to play and the development that they've had there.
Okay, I have a question for the Sudbury guys. Scott opened up the freedom of movement talk. Bryce brought it up again. So I'd like to know your opinion as Sudbury guys, so Mike, Drew, Craig, what you guys think of our kids here in Sudbury. What's the best for our kids here in Sudbury? Both on the freedom of movement part and the systems of the AAA systems. You know, right now we have 2 AAA systems. A lot of people seem to think we should do 1. Some people think it's good to have the 2. Just want your opinion on what's the best for our kids.
Well, as far as freedom of movement goes, I'm totally for that. I think that is something that we definitely have to look at for our players here in Sudbury. Speaking for myself as a player that came through the NOHA, and when I say NOHA, I played a lot of minor hockey in North Bay. I started playing my hockey in the Manitoulin Island. In Gore Bay. I played at Timmins and Elliott Lake, and ended up coming to Sudbury and finally being drafted. This question has been posed to me many times, and I've thought about it and the development of myself. And when I played hockey here in Sudbury, to be honest with you, as a player and as a young player, and now that I think about it back now, and I had this discussion with a table, I feel that with the system that we have in Sudbury, I could have become possibly a better player if I had the opportunity to play with better players. And there was players in the Sudbury area that were good players that I did not have the chance to play with. And I believe if I had the chance to play with them, practice with them, play games, I believe in my heart that, you know, I played 5 years in the NHL, maybe that could have been 10, you know. Maybe those players would have become better players because of me. And I really believe that we're cheating our kids in that opportunity to play with better players and not have them together, and I realize the economics. I realize a lot of the stuff that goes on here in hockey, but I'm looking at it as a player, as a young player that has come up through the system, and I believe, you know, when we look at it, are we doing what's best for our kids? Are we trying to help them realize their dream of playing major junior hockey, of playing in the NHL? Are our kids better off, you know, playing in an elite league, an elite team? Are, you know, our best kids playing together? Are we going to get more kids drafted into junior that way? Are the kids that are maybe a step behind those kids, are they better playing together as a group and getting lots of ice time and making that jump up into that next level to be able to be with those kids a step ahead? And I look at Timbits hockey, how they develop their kids, you know, from the grassroots, and you know, when they first get on the ice and they're skating, their ability to skate and how they put kids into levels that way. And I think that's a great way to start kids. And a lot of those kids that start off that your weakest skaters become some of the good players because they're in a group that they're comfortable with, and they can become better players because of that. And at the same point, your better skaters too are in that group, and they can become better players too. I hate to sit up here and be critical of all the things, you know, in minor hockey. I owe a lot to a lot of people in the NOHA in Sudbury minor hockey. I've made a great living from it. I've made a lot of great friends through hockey. I love the game. I still love to play the game. I'm having a hard time getting out of it, to be honest with you. I'm hanging on like you wouldn't imagine. They're trying to push me down and drown me, but I still gotta hold on to that boat and keep my head above the water. But the love of the game's always gonna be there for me, and I credit that to the good people that coach me, the mentors. But I really believe there's a better system out there for us and for our kids, and there's going to be growing pains, I believe, in that. But if we really want to do the best for our kids, we're going to have to go through those pains, I think. And yeah, that's really my belief, and I'm speaking here as a player that's gone through the system, and of course I don't have any, you know, I don't sit on the board, and I'm not part of the politics of the game of hockey, of course, and I understand that, but as a player that came up through the system, it comes to question to me is, could I have been a better player if there was a system that afforded me to play with players that were good, that weren't able to come in